Good evening. Welcome to the Gautier City Council meeting Tuesday, July 19th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. I ask that you please silence your cell phones and any other electronic device. Please stand for the prayer and the pledge. The prayer will be by our planning director, Scott Ankerson, and the pledge by Councilman Anderson.
Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight. We thank you for our blessings. We thank you for your presence in our lives. We ask you to be in this place tonight, in this meeting, to be with council, give them discernment, unity, to be with the staff here tonight. God, we thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ, and his sacrifice for our sins on Calvary's cross. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman Anderson, and thank you, Mr. Ankerson. That brings us to our agenda order approval. Do we have any changes, Ms. Shancy? No changes. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda order approval as presented?
So moved.
We have a motion by Councilman Gillette. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman George. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. That brings us to our announcements by our city manager, Ms. Shancy.
Gaucher youth football camp ages 5 through 12 will be July 21st, beginning at 8:30 a.m. until 11 a.m. at the Gaucher High School football field. Goodwill's Express donation station will be July 21st, 22nd, and 23rd from 8 a.m. until 6 p.m. at the Singing River Mall property. Tasty Thursday will be Thursday, July 28th, beginning at 11 a.m. at the Singing River Mall property. And Gaucher's Farmers Market will be on August 13th, beginning at 8 a.m. until 12 p.m. at George Martin City Park.
Thank you, Ms. Shancy. That brings us to our presentation agenda by our Fire Chief, Mr. Josh Latch, regarding the fire department updates.
All right. So my name is Josh Latch. You all know me, I'm sure. I just wanted to make sure they all know me. I was made interim in October of 2020. I was then promoted to fire chief in 2021. So the reason I'm here is to let you know what we've done. So in the year and a half, 2 years, or I don't know how long it's been, the issues that we started with. First of all, our first issue was losing all of our employees to other departments. When I took over, we had, I believe it was 14 empty positions. And other departments were calling our guys once they would get trained and give them $1 raise or whatever, and we train them up and get them all good and trained, and they leave and go to other cities. Like I said, we were being used as a training ground. Guys would come in for 2 years. That's I guess a state rule or something. Like if we pay for you to go to the academy, you have to give us at least 2 years, and without having to pay us back. Like I said, we had 14 open positions. We had extensive vehicle maintenance that we had to take care of. We had the brakes, tires, fluid leaks on all of our fire engines, some of our trucks, our staff vehicles. Some of the air conditioners weren't working in our fire trucks, and lights, sirens. That can be an issue for the citizens. If our sirens aren't working, our lights aren't working, and we're on a call, we don't want to rush through and hit someone. Our buildings, some of our buildings have leaking roofs, some of our insulation in the truck bays were falling, and the bay doors would fall, or some of the bay doors would get stuck either open or stuck closed, so we'd have to either leave the truck in or out to be able to use it, park it in the back. So, and our equipment, all of our equipment, like our turnouts, gloves, some of our, like our jaws of life was just kind of worn out. So we have had gloves with holes in them, our turnouts have holes in them, you know, stuff like that. So the changes we made so far, number one is I got with Frank, and before it was more of a reactive program of getting vehicles and stuff fixed. We got with Frank, and Frank's like, let's do a proactive, like fix it before it's broken, before it becomes a problem. So, you know, we had, we started a new position, a new training officer, and Training Officer Hill started a new program and got, like, this year he's blown it out of the park. He's done so good this year. With the training he did this year, we've done 39 classes in 1 year. So that's a lot. That's a whole lot of training for 1 year. So our new equipment, we've ordered new turnouts for everybody. I think this year, for next year, we have 6 more to order for everybody to have brand new turnouts. Our hoods and gloves, our masks, SCBAs, everything is brand new. Our tip, which is a thermal imaging camera. Before we had an antique, like it was, I almost said black and white. So you would go in and you'd have to look at a black and white photo inside of a dark building. So now we have color photos, and we have one on every truck. We used to only have one in the whole department. So now we have 4. This one is kind of near and dear to my heart, I guess. We started our annual physicals back to keep guys healthy. That's one that I really harp on, is making sure our guys are healthy and get their health screens and get checked. Right now we're in the process of updating some of the facilities. We've already had our new roofs put on. We are in the process of revamping our bathrooms. We have living quarters. The guys kind of want a separate room. They're all sleeping in one big room, and you know, all guys make all kinds of noises at night when they're sleeping. So we're kind of put up some partition walls and let them all sleep separate rooms. We're in the process. We've already ordered our new fire engine, which I believe tonight will be the first night I have a picture of it. So you all have seen it, but the public hasn't seen it. So I've got a picture of it. We're going to show. And Miss Paula, you know, talked us into getting us and the police department doing a promotional video, and it has turned out wonderful. It's great. I've got a copy of that too. So this one here, I brought morale to a new high. So I had to take some notes on this one because there's a lot. So with the help of Miss Teresa and Miss Paula, we are no longer like the training ground. We're not, you know, I've had in the past 6 or 8 months, I've had so many firefighters call me from other departments wanting to come work here. I've had other fire chiefs call me and asking me what I'm doing to get, because other departments are leaving to come here. Right now we've got four laterals, which is unheard of for Gaucher. We've never had that many laterals come from other departments. Right now we have 4 positions and 6 applicants. And of one of those, the guy's been in the fire service for 27 years, not 27, since 1997. He knows a lot. And he's coming from one of the biggest places on the Gulf Coast, one of the biggest fire departments, and wants to come work for Gaucher because just the way we've been running things and the way things have been going, like this is what I'm most proud of, is the new truck's okay, the new video's okay, but I'm so happy that Gaucher is growing and that everybody wants to come here. It makes me proud to be here. So, yeah, I've already went 6 applicants and one from, might be coming from Buffalo.
It's Facebook Live.
They call me. So my 5-year plan, this is what I would like to have. Number 2 should be on number 1, but we'll get there. Additional personnel per shift. I want to work to where we have 3 guys per truck. 2 guys in the front and 1 guy sitting back, so we can. 1 guy can stay on the truck and pump the truck while the other 2 guys are doing work at a time. A new central station. We do want one of those. We're outgrowing it. I mean, the buildings we built, the buildings we're in, were built in the late '80s. So I don't think back then they were expecting us to have 12 men per shift. Like we have, when they started, it was 4 or 5. So we're outgrowing our facilities. Additional turnouts. That goes with the physicals. When we go and fight a fire, we get all these carcinogens all over us and stuff like that, and it's not good. It's a big, in any of your creases and your armpits, neck, all that, the carcinogens will build up. So now, a few guys have 2 sets of turnouts, but when we go in and fight a fire and then come out, if we fight a fire in the morning, that afternoon, if we have to put our turnouts on, we're putting those dirty clothes back on, so it's just spreading. So I want to work towards getting everybody at least 2 sets of turnouts. And a new maintenance on our pumps. The lime scale and stuff builds up inside our pumps, and it's kind of making them leak a little bit. So we're going to work with Frank and get something going with that. But with that being said, I think this is the end. I got the next picture, I think, is the fire truck and the new theme of the fire truck. So
Go Gators.
So it's going to be the Gaucher Gators colors and the Gaucher Gators symbols and stuff. And what we're going to do is we're going to move engine 5 out of Central Station and put this truck there so we can use it for parades. We can use it to go to the ball games and just we wanted to promote the school and our pride in Gaucher. So, and the next one is our promotional video. There we go.
Every kid has a dream,
And all of these guys in this video work for us.
at least once in their life. Of stopping fires and saving lives. You have the power to make that dream a reality. Become your own hero. Today.
That doesn't make
that's
you want to be a
awesome.
fireman. We're
At least riding the truck.
We're hiring. Y'all have any questions for me?
Thank you, Chief Latch, for your presentation and your hard work, and
I appreciate it.
all your information don't go unnoticed, and we're here to support y'all in the city manager's request.
Yes.
But will you explain, it's pretty good when governing body has to go ask the fire union to give them a pay raise. So for our citizens, we have a fire union contract, and for us to be able to give them the pay raise that was in the last budget, we had to ask for their permission. So we are committed to our public safety here in Gaucher, and we thank you and all your firefighters.
Thank you.
I do have one question. You said when you took over as the fire chief, we had 14
Yes,
vacancies.
sir.
And we currently have 4
We have 4
with
vacancies.
6 applicants for those 4
6
vacancies.
applicants for those 4.
Okay.
Thank you.
What's the total number of personnel on the fire department right now?
We have total of 39. 3 are staff positions and 36 are
Firefighter.
firefighters, captains, and battalion chiefs.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilman Anderson, Councilman Elbert, y'all have any questions?
No,
Okay. Thank you,
I'm
Chief
sorry, I
Latch.
can't get my tablet to work.
Okay. That brings us to presentation agenda number 2, Growth Readiness Training Phase 2 Stormwater with J. Estes, Allen Engineer and Science.
Thank you, Mayor, and I am very certain that I cannot compete with what you just heard, so I'm not even going to try. But I am going to give you a little bit of information today, and the EPA Phase 2 Stormwater Program has been around now for about 20 years, and very pleased that we have had the opportunity to work with the City of Gaucher for just about that entire time. Also very proud of the fact that in all of that time, we have never had a significant compliance finding from DEQ or EPA. And that's certainly not attributed to me or to us. That's really a great testament to your staff, the folks that we work with here at Clearwater, and with Scott and his staff. They do an excellent job and make my job easy in working with you as a consultant. So, we've known for a long time that stormwater runoff is a significant contributor to water quality impairment. The issues associated with that are really compounded when you get into a coastal environment because just the simple fact that there's so much water around us down here. Combined with the fact that your quality of life, a good segment of your economy, a big part of what makes the coast is water quality. If that water quality is good, folks are getting out, they're swimming, they're kayaking, they're hanging out on the beaches, they're doing the things that folks do on the coast, fishing and whatnot. If water quality is poor, those activities tend to be curtailed a little bit. So it's really important that we maintain a strong focus and emphasis on maintaining good water quality down here. And we know that water quality to a great extent is tied to development activities. So, we like to look at economic development numbers and say, hey, we've got really great things going on here. Folks are building, new businesses are starting up. But that development activity, if it's not, if the actual land disturbance activities are not controlled to a certain extent, that can become problematic. One of the bigger contributors to water quality impairment around the state is from sediment. And a lot of that comes from construction activities and that kind of thing. So, that's really where Scott and his staff come into play, doing code enforcement, doing building inspections to make sure that those developers are staying in compliance with the things that they say they're going to do to keep that from becoming a problem on their side. So, really, we have not had a whole lot of significant issues here. I know a couple years ago there was a little issue that arose from I think a citizen's complaint with some work that the city was doing on some drainage. But since then, we've had a compliance inspection from DEQ. There are no significant issues that came out of that. That was, last fall, Scott? So we shouldn't be due for another one for another probably 4 or 5 years. But we did get through that, and they were particularly nitpicky this time, to put it that way. And the city passed that with flying colors, so we're very pleased about that. So with that being said, I've given you a little presentation that goes into a lot more detail than I know you want to give me time tonight to go into. My contact information is in there. Should you have any questions, if you need clarification on anything or just have issues that you'd like to discuss or bring forth, feel free to reach out, give me a call, send me an email. Of course, I'm working for you guys, so I'm here for you. We appreciate it.
Does anybody have any questions for Joe?
I don't have.
Councilman Anderson?
Nothing.
Councilman College?
I'm good, thank you.
Councilman Wood?
I'm good.
Jackson?
No comment.
George? Thank you for your presentation and making sure we're in compliance, and thank you to our staff who make sure we're in compliance, and residents, as you heard tonight, while we have the ordinance, et cetera, to make sure we follow all the guidelines. So we appreciate your hard work, and we appreciate our staff's hard work.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us to business agenda item number 1, approval of change order number 3 for the Spinach Trail Gaucher Vancleeve Road Sewer Improvements Project Restore. Staff presentation by Ms. April Stennon.
Yes, Mayor. Change order 3 would serve to increase our contract amount by $34,890. It will not increase the contract time. If you would like to see the added scope, just look to the back of your change order. There are 5 items on there, one being a manhole and some risers. And our total contract amount would be $1,937,475.99 if this is approved tonight. And Mr. Mark Seymour is here tonight if you have any hard questions.
Thank you, Ms. Stennon. Do we have any public comments? No public comments? Do we have a motion to approve change order number 3 for the Spinach Trail Gaucher Vancleeve Road Sewer Improvements Project Restore?
So moved.
We have a motion by Councilman College. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Gilat. Any discussion starting with Councilman Elvin?
No discussion.
Councilman Anderson?
No question.
Councilman College?
Yeah, I have a few. I think actually Councilman Glatt and I have the same questions. What's the reasoning for the addition of the 48-inch diameter doghouse manhole, the risers, the 7 risers, 3-foot risers, and the 4-foot riser? Are these items that were additional scopes of work, or were they kind of just missed in the initial engineering plans?
Once we dropped the manholes, we were kind of fighting the deep ditch plus the right of way. Once we put them in, we realized that we'd set them too low. So the basis of this whole grant is to keep the infiltration from getting into our system. So we just had to pick a couple of them up 2 feet and a couple of them 3 feet. And the additional manhole, excuse me, there was a water line that we didn't know was there, and we just had to add a manhole to get around it.
Okay, a conflict box kind of deal to get around it and stuff. Yeah, we definitely want to minimize any I&I, so okay. That's the only questions I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman College. Councilman Gilat?
I'm confused. When those manholes was originally put in, and I ride that during Spanish Trail just about every day, those things are put in and they were the manhole was very low. Then they've been added on to, and now we're going to add on to them again?
No,
extend them higher?
This is to cover the cost for those. The risers are already on there.
So it's already done? Is that what you're telling
Yes,
us?
sir.
So they've already put all of these risers on those. So now they look like they level with the road.
Right.
But when they first started, they was like, some of them were 3 and 4 feet below the road
the flow
level.
line
I
of the
was
ditch pretty
questioning, I
much.
said, this ain't gonna work.
Right.
So now
It was
they've
very
added-
obvious once they set them that we had to come up with them.
Okay, so they do settle some after you put them in, right? Should, not much.
No, not that much.
Yeah. Okay, all right, that's what I was, because here we get a motion to do something that looks like it's already been done. So all we're doing is approval of payment, is that what we're doing?
I guess they kind of figured they were going to get paid for raising the manholes and asked for money after the fact.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm the one who told them to raise them, because like you said, you stand there at the road and you know that had to happen.
They thought they were under budget, they thought we were gonna handle it with the final summary change order, but once they started putting the pen to the paper here at the end of the job, we've got one last summary change order and the final payout to come to you guys, but once they put pen to paper, we realized we had to get this change order approved to cover that cost.
Okay, all right, that's it.
Thank you, Councilman Collette. Councilman Jackson?
Yes, so the pricing of it, you are doing this off the average base price to complete the job as where you at, from where it's at?
Yeah, so we actually reached out to a vendor to verify the price and we get
Okay. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilman Jackson. Councilman George?
No comment.
Yeah, how much longer do they think we're going to be on this project?
They're supposed to have papers out there.
Monday or Tuesday.
That should be it.
And when is the final walkthrough?
They haven't scheduled it yet.
Yeah,
Okay.
I want them to put that asphalt down, and make sure it's right, and then I want to walk it with all the city staff and put it on.
Okay. Just making sure, because I ride it, like Councilman Galat said, every day, and there's issues out there that they literally come and work on one area and drive right past it and don't correct the problem. It's the most, unfortunately, I call it babysitting, and we pay them good money not to babysit.
The last 3 months this thing was drug out. It should have been done at least 2 months ago.
Well, and as Councilman Anderson always says about the Martin Bluff Road project, the old Spinach Trail project with the crosscuts, I mean, they leave it for over a week with no notifications, nothing. So it's not just one project with that. So I wanted, people to be aware they need to pay attention. They make great money. It's not like we're paying them the cheapest in the state of Mississippi. Okay, that's all I have. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries. That brings us to business agenda item number 2, consideration of a special exception that would allow a cannabis cultivation facility in an existing building in a C2 community commercial zoning district, GPC case number 22-23-SE, by our planning director, Mr. Scott Anderson.
Thank you, Mayor. The planning department has received this request from Gaucher Agricultural Company, LLC, for a special exception that would allow cannabis cultivation facility in an existing building in a C2 community commercial zoning district at 3100 Latner Road. The application fee of $250 was paid on May 27, 2022, and all public notice requirements have been met. Some background, the general features of the project: the site size is approximately 1.5 acres. There is an existing building on the property that's approximately 16,000 square feet. There's potable water and wastewater services existing at the current location. The current surrounding zoning is C2 community commercial and MERC 1 mixed-use recreational commercial. The comprehensive future land use designation calls out high-impact commercial for this lot. I've included the review criteria for special exceptions outlined in 4.16.4 of our Unified Development Ordinance. I will say that medical marijuana cultivation was legalized in Mississippi in February 2022. Our current Unified Development Ordinance does not have any specific regulations for these uses, these medical marijuana uses. As of now, I have some proposed verbiage changes to the Unified Development Ordinance that will be going before Planning Commission next month and then before Council shortly after. Of course, they're proposed, and there could be changes requested to these proposed verbiage changes to the UDO. But at this time, the state's ordinance does allow a cultivation facility to be placed by right in an ag district or in an industrial district within the municipality. So just keep that in mind tonight. Also, it gives the city the right to choose what commercial districts you would like these cultivation facilities to be able to be placed. And those will be addressed in those UDO changes that we propose to y'all next month. So for now, the proper procedure would be to ask for the special exception for this use. Special exceptions required for uses not ordinarily permitted in the zoning district, and special exceptions do not run with the land, may be revoked by the planning department if any of the following circumstances are discovered. if the property changes ownership, if the property is being utilized in a manner not permitted under the zoning regulations or the special exception, or the property ceases to be used for the purpose allowed in the special exception for a period of 180 days during the existence of the special exception. I've included the definition of hardship for your review and the recommendation from the Planning Commission. Planning Commission recommends the City Council deny the special exception. But the City Council may approve the special exception with changes, or deny the special exception. I've included in your packet a copy of the waivers that the applicant has received from the churches for the distance requirements, and a complete packet from the PC meeting, 22-23 SE, and the minutes excerpt from the 7-7-22 meeting. If you have any questions for me, I'll be happy to answer them to the best of my ability. And also the applicants here tonight, and they have representation here. I think that wants to speak and give a presentation to you all tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Ankerson. And also we have the owner of the property here this evening with us too. So who would like to do the first presentation? State your name, address.
Sure. My name is Don Scruggs, and my address is 317 Pine Drive in Ocean Springs. I'm trying to make this as quick as possible. I did a PowerPoint. I did a PowerPoint, but if I put it on paper, it may move faster than showing my slideshow.
No, I would like the slideshow.
Considering you work for a former municipality and you know they like those kind of things.
If you could have gotten him an Excel spreadsheet, he'd like it even better.
Well, you just can't please everybody all the time. So we'll try to do what we can. Again, my name's Don.
See, our chief stood you up. He did a good presentation.
He did, and I don't want to try to follow that. So I'm just going to do this paper
Like Jay. Huh? Where did he go? He left?
Yeah, the owners, as you mentioned, the Andersons are here tonight, and of course, Mr. Nico, Bill Nico, is going to be one of the owners of the building. And the first portion of these handout that I handed you is basically the presentation that was provided to the Planning Commission. I can do this as long as you want me to, but I also know that you have a busy agenda, and I'm going to try not to as fast as I can. Basically, one of the biggest issues with this building is that it was constructed in 1974, which predates the city of Gautier. And when it did that, it was out in the county and everything was allowed. Since that time, of course, the city has incorporated adopted zoning regulations, and now you've got a building in a C2 district that really does not fit that district. If you look on page 2 of what I provided you, it is a 16,000 square foot building in the C2 district, and this district allows a lot of things that are more small retail in nature, meaning that you have small retail, you got convenience stores, day spas, drug stores, fish camps. You have a number of uses that just don't need to have 16,000 square feet. So your question is, what do you do with the building that's this big? You either demolish it and build something smaller, or do you try to go in and partition the building out and make it smaller, make each room smaller to where they can accommodate smaller uses. Then you get into parking issues because now you've got much more intense uses in the same square footage. So it really does not work too well, and of course it costs a bunch of money, and of course they're also located practically on CSX right away. So there's only a limited number of people who actually want to use this facility, and a warehousing type facility is good, but it's not allowed. So the C2 does not even allow warehousing in the building that's basically designed for that. The building would be much better in a C3 or an I2 type district, but then you're allowing all the uses that go along with those districts. So the special exception is actually a better way to get us where we need to go, and it protects the city from opening up an I2 zoning in an area that really does not fit, or a C3 zoning in an area that does not fit. So we think that the special exception is a good way to go. The building will function largely as a large greenhouse. There will be growing of the plant at this facility, but that will be about it. There will be no distribution, there will be no selling, there will be no dispensing, there will be no production of the oils and the gummies and other things that are associated with medical cannabis. This is strictly going to be a grow facility, and the flower will be sent to dispensaries or other locations. Next slide just kind of shows you what the surrounding property.
Say that again, to dispensaries or other locations?
Dispensaries or processing facilities, yes, sir. There will be the opportunity to send the flower to a processing facility that can make the items I mentioned, certain oils, certain gummies, certain
Which is outside the state?
No, sir, no, sir. Actually, one of the sites that we're looking at for a processing facility would be in Gulfport.
Okay.
So it would be on the Gulf Coast, but obviously they're not. And then
you ain't gonna be shipping none of this stuff to Colorado, are you?
Oh no, they've got plenty out there. When you look at the zoning that is surrounding the property, it's on page 3, you see that it is right in the middle of a C2 district. If you look to the bottom of that page, you look at some of the uses that are surrounding it and the amount of vacant land. The property is in a location that is really not heavily built out. The property to the south, to the east and both to the northwest are basically vacant with numerous acres of land, which is very good because we're not being adjacent to other individuals. Page 4 actually outlines some of the uses that are in the area. And what's interesting is that a number of these uses are not actually allowed by right. So we're asking for a special exception, and a number of the uses in the area have also had to come forward with a conditional use. The convenience store is a permitted use, and the retail shop to the north is a permitted use. But the many warehouses are actually non-conforming uses. They're not even allowed in this district anymore. And the packaged liquor store is not allowed either. So and the funeral home is not allowed. It's by conditional use. All of them are by conditional uses. So it's not like we're going in an area that's very strongly C2. It's in an area that basically is, I want to call it just a variety of different type of uses and type of intensities. The bottom image shows you on page 4 the kind of vacant land that we have around us. To the north of us is the old car wash that was demolished back in about 2010. Behind us is about 27 acres of vacant land, and you've got about 13 acres to the northwest of us also. There are also some land across the street from us and south of CSX. So there is a lot of vacant property. And then also what's interesting about this property is that it does separate itself a pretty good bit from the MURC district. With the Lockville roadway to the south and the CSX roadway to the south, you have almost 200 feet before you ever get into any adjacent property lines that are south of the tracks. The property, I will go through these special exceptions deals. I think Scott hit on them pretty good. Primarily, it's not a thing that we created by ourselves. When the state legislature adopted allowed the approval of medical cannabis, then of course your ordinance does not allow that. So the only way to do this is by special exception. We do think that it is going to be harmonious with the area. When you look at what is out there, I don't think we're going to do anything but improve that particular site. The building has been very underutilized for years because of its size. Rents have not justified the improvements to the site, and we would want to do that immediately if we were successful in getting the special exception. The page 7 outlines some of the benefits that we see associated with this project. First of all, we envision between 20 and 30 jobs on the front end. So immediately we're going to put a lot of individuals working at this facility, and we're going to dump about $1 million in the improvements of the facility. This is going to be through mechanical equipment, lighting, and other heat lamps, everything associated with the facility. So you will see an immediate improvement in the overall ad valorem taxes. Currently, there's about $3,400 paid to the county, city, and school district. That number is probably going to get up to at least about $20,000 a year. But we do see it as being a significant increase there, along with the job. Also, we do look to do a number of improvements. Gaucher has done a wonderful job when you look at the way new buildings are required to be updated. Y'all PDO was pretty rigid in what you require, and it definitely shows on Highway 90. What we see here is doing, much of the same. The building is 100% metal, and it's not attractive. What we would see doing on the facade would be maybe a hardy board, a smooth hardy board on the top, and then underline it with a brick about 3 or 4 feet up, so that you have somewhat of a visual appearance that's much better than what it is right now. Painting the entire facility something other than yellow and blue would be another item that we knocked out very quickly.
It's going to be green.
I'm sorry?
It's going to be green.
Wait. Black and
Maroon and white.
maroon and white. I like that. We do think that this site is going to be significantly improved, which I think is going to be a positive impact for that corridor. I know the city has tried its best to improve that area, and we want to make sure we do our part as well. We also reached out to the owner to the north about potentially purchasing the old car wash. That site's been in disrepair for a number of years, and it's not very attractive. So we think that if we could get that, it would give us some additional space, and also would allow us to control what our neighbor has. At the planning commission, there was some brief conversation about odor and what may happen with this site. This is on page 8. The issue associated with odor is primarily in cities that have, first of all, facilities that are about 100,000 square feet in overall size that are adjacent to other buildings that are that same size. This is a much smaller facility that will only be 16,000 square feet in size. Also, what's causing a lot of odor issues in larger cities is that, especially in Denver, where many of these structures went in prior to odor regulation requirements or anything like that, our facility will include what's called carbon filtration devices. They're what's considered the best in the industry as far as trying to address the smell and odor that comes from cannabis. And by doing this, it will remove all odors associated with the plant. So we don't see any obnoxious odors leaving this facility. One thing I want to point out that is positive is that the local owners are going to be partnering with a national firm that has current facilities in about 5 different states. It operates 28 dispensaries, cultivation facilities, and processors. So there is no learning curve, meaning that from day one, these guys are going to know exactly what they're doing and how to handle it, and will probably know more about it than most folks, almost anybody in Mississippi. However, they do want to hire locally as far as their management and the office staff, and even the ones who help with the growing of the plants. So they do want to reach out and hire local folks. Like I said, it's going to be about 20 to 30 people, and the salary's going to be in the upper to mid 30s to about $80,000 for some of the management positions. So it's going to be a good facility to have in the city, and I think it will be beneficial. The hours, it's not 24/7, it's nothing like that. It's typically going to be normal business hours, 7 to 6, 8 to 5, something along those lines. Also, there was some questions at the planning commission meeting about, what size of vehicles will be coming in. The vehicles that are going to be used are primarily going to be minivans or small passenger cars. They're not going to be large freight trucks that will come inside, so they're not going to tear your streets up. Also, to deliver anything to the facility, the truck or van actually has to pull in a garage door, go inside the building, and offload the cannabis and load the cannabis on the tallyway. So that there is no outward evidence of what's going on in the building, which is very, very positive. It's not like you're going to see any evidence. Nobody's going to know what's going on in the building, and that's is very good for everybody. All employees will have to go through a background check, and there's a number of felonies that are actually prohibited from hiring. The facility, as I stated before, will only be licensed for cultivation. There will be no sale or dispensing. This is on page 9. The flower will be packaged and sent to dispensaries. That's going to be our primary straight shot. We have 2 dispensaries that are in the process of being permitted. We're looking to do 3 more for a total of 5. Our plan on the front end is to basically grow the material, grow the plant to accommodate the dispensaries. It's not to really try to take care of folks in North Mississippi or Central Mississippi or even other locations. It's primarily for our dispensaries or for the dispensary associated with the owner. Now the crime and the actual security is pretty impressive if you've read through the state statutes. Fencing, I know I had some conversations with, I think, Paula and Scott about this. Fencing is actually not required. We can do fencing if you want to, but in a sense, fencing just kind of sometimes shows that there's something worth taking, and it may actually encourage more theft than it actually prevents. We're open to that. We'll do whatever the city wants to do. However, each exterior window, each exterior door has to be monitored 24/7 continuous camera, meaning that if anybody tries to ever poke holes into the door to get the walls to get in, then the security alarm will go off immediately. Now, the grow houses or the cultivation facilities, according to our guys, said that they've had no evidence of theft, robbery, or any kind of criminal activity associated with grow houses. Those are the least problematic of the facilities. Dispensaries are a little bit different, because you actually have the product there. Nobody really wants to grab a plant, run down the road with it. I mean, these plants are going to be big, and they're not going to be anything that is attractive. And nobody's even going to know what's in there. So they really are not going to know what is in the facility, and therefore there's no point of breaking in. Alarm systems will notify law enforcement immediately. All points of ingress and egress of the facility and parking areas will all be monitored by 24/7 continuous cameras. So if you're on that site, if you try to enter that site, everybody's going to know it. They're going to have a good picture of you, and if you try to open the door, cops and the owner will be notified via the alarm system. So I do see this as being, it may actually be an improvement for the site, because now the amount of security on that site and the perimeter of the building is going to make it where folks know to stay away. At any rate, basically we're here tonight asking you for a special exception to allow this facility to go at 3100 Lanier Street, the Lanier Road. The building is currently empty. The owner has said that the tenants have moved out, so we're now just waiting for an approval from this board, and then we can start the process of making that site a much more attractive looking building. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. I know the owners are here. They can answer any questions. They can speak to you about the parts associated with renting the building, and I also have the Phil and Nico, who's going to be one of the owners, here to speak as well if necessary. So between all of us, hopefully we can answer your questions.
Thank you, Donovan.
Thank you.
Do we have any other citizen comments? Ms. Anderson, do you want to speak?
Yes.
On your property, explain it as the property owner. Do you want to explain the history of it?
Yes.
Okay. If you come up to the front and state your name and address. Mr. Anderson, if you want to speak.
I'm glad to talk.
Okay.
I'm Lene Jacob, and my husband David Anderson. We own the 3100 Ladner Road in Gaucher, formerly known as the skating rink, because it was known as a skating rink long before I purchased it, and we turned it into a wedding reception, private party, and I also did ballroom, country, Latin, and swing dancing there. I purchased the building in about 2012. In 2015, I found out that I had cancer, and so we decided to put the building up for sale. During that time, we continued to rent it out as a venue for wedding receptions and private parties. The building is 80 by 200, so it's a huge building. So there are limited things that can be put into that space. According to the UDO, Unified Development Ordinance, is that what it's called?
That's it.
Okay. The uses for the building, by right in your current UDO is, it can be a plant nursery for retail. So it is zoned as a permitted use for that. However, cannabis cultivation has not caught up with the UDO of plant nursery facility. So it is not specifically outlined as that in that particular area. So as you know, anybody that wants to do drugs or do something illegal, just like I don't know if any of you suffer from sinus, Allegra D for sinus medicine was illegal. And if you wanted it, you had to go to the doctor to get a prescription. Finally, Mississippi made it legal that you can go buy you some sinus medicine over the counter. Well, criminals do not hang out in a well-lit area. They don't hang out where there's surveillance cameras, and they don't hang out where they have an opportunity to be caught on camera or where there's 24/7 security. So those things are going to be added into the building over there as improvements to help deter criminals. Of course, we all know that if a criminal wants something, they're going to figure out a way to do it. I was just using that as an example because with this facility, the state of Mississippi passed it as being legal for cannabis. And back to one of the questions that was asked, was the cannabis going to be shipped somewhere else? Well, during my research, I'm not a lawyer. I do not know all the ins and outs of procedures. However, you can look it up online under Mississippi State Department of Health, Medical Cannabis Program, Cannabis Cultivation Facilities. It does tell you where they can and cannot ship that stuff. And to my understanding, anything that's grown in a facility that is in the state of Mississippi stays in Mississippi. It cannot be shipped out of state. I know I read it somewhere. I don't know where it is in this handful of papers, but it is in there. Okay, I'm going to have a couple of handouts to give you to look at as we go through the process. Okay, thank you. Make sure to keep me one.
Thank you.
Good work.
I would probably have an extra because I had...
City attorney can get.
Yeah, I have one for them too. Just one for this. Did the first one? Yeah. Okay. So for the cultivation center, the first picture there is what I pictured as Fort Knox and like a correctional facility. I mean, that was my thought of what it might look like, okay? But the state of Mississippi has strict guidelines as to what it can and cannot look like and what's required. The second picture is the pallets on the floor with the watering system, so everything has to be inside. And the watering system, if you look at it, it's kind of like what it would look like at Walmart. If you go to Walmart to the plant garden out there, you see the little watering system going along and you have the pallets with the plants on it. The difference is this is inside an enclosed building because that way it is controlled. The third picture is the pictures of the plants in the different stages with them growing, and you see that they have them on pallets or on shelves. Or some people might say it's like a box garden like you would have at your house. The next picture is just another picture of what the facility would look like on the inside once it's renovated. And you can see that it does not have a lot of windows to be able to access inside the building. The next picture obviously is that they have to have some kind of office space there because in case they have meetings and stuff. So now the last two pages would be the press release from the state of Mississippi. So on February the 4th of 2022, Jackson, Mississippi, the Mississippi State Department of Health is committed to meeting the statutory requirements of the Mississippi Medical Cannabis Act, recently enacted by Mississippi legislature and signed by Governor Tate Reeves. The goal is to provide a safe and accessible program that meets the needs of patients and the public health and safety of all Mississippi residents. The MSDH is currently working to establish the licensing and patient registry structures and plans to begin accepting online licensing applications for patients, medical practitioners, cannabis cultivation facilities, and others by June 2022. And then it lists the where you can go to look up this information. A lot of people's misconception is that it's going to be a drug house. Well, it's no different than them processing sinus medicine or a facility to offer a place for them to grow medical marijuana. As we continue on, the state of Mississippi Department of Health has strict guidelines for all stages and phases of the medical cannabis program. Title 15, Mississippi State Department of Health Cannabis Program. Keep going. So we get to page 2, item number 9. The definition of what the cannabis cultivation facility is. Because obviously we don't know what it is. We're new to this, just like you are. You're in the process of trying to write the ordinance of where it can and cannot be. The term cannabis cultivation facility means a business entity licensed and registered by the Mississippi Department of Health that acquires, grows, cultivates, and harvests medical cannabis in an indoor, enclosed, locked, and secure area. The terms cannabis cultivator, or micro-cultivator also have the same meaning. We'll go to the next page because I only took items out of this because obviously we don't want to go over everything that's in here, but I just want to give you enough information so that you know what is expected by the state of Mississippi. Micro-cultivation facilities, this term micro-cultivation facility means an entity licensed and registered with the Mississippi State Department of Health that acquires, grows, cultivates, and harvests medical cannabis in an indoor, enclosed, locked, and secure area. Micro-cultivation facilities are owned by individuals who have been residents of the state of Mississippi for 3 consecutive years prior to the date of application. So it's not just somebody coming in from out of state trying to make big money off of Mississippi. They have to be Mississippi residents for a minimum of 3 years prior to the date of the application. The department and the entities with equal ownership held by individuals who have been residents of the state of Mississippi for 3 years prior to the date of the application of the department. In that subchapter, it also talks about what a cultivator has to pay. That building is 16,000 square feet. Their initial one-time application fee is $20,000. The annual license fee is $50,000. So they're making a big investment into the state of Mississippi along with trying to purchase the building and make improvements to the area. The Gaucher, the name of the business that wants to buy the building is the Gaucher Agricultural Company, LLC, and it is owned by Mississippi residents vested in our community. The cultivation facility will help meet the needs of patients with debilitating medical conditions and will provide a service that meets public health and safety guidelines set by the state of Mississippi Department of Health. Gaucher Agricultural Company, LLC is committed to being a good neighbor and dedicated to bring the Mississippi State Department of Health Medical Cannabis Act vision into a reality, which was set forth by the state of Mississippi. Our journey begins with a single step, and in this case it begins with a seed at the new Gaucher Agricultural Company, LLC. All we need is your vote yes, and you will be a part of helping patients with debilitating medical conditions. One other thing I'd like to add is in this guideline that is set forth by the state, they have strict guidelines from seed to sale. And from the seed to sale, it requires that through the phases of that, each plant has to be marked with identifying marks. Let me see what it's called. Scanners, tags, and as a plant reaches a certain age or growth it also has to be identified. So it says all cultivation activities, which you've already talked about, has to be an indoor, enclosed, locked, secure facility. And then as you go through the stages, it tells you about the stages for seed to sell, where you that they have to mark each individual plant and tag it through the different stages. So everything will be tracked from beginning to end. Does anybody have any questions for me?
No, ma'am, that was pretty thorough.
Yeah. You talk like you're going to be part of this company. Will you be?
No.
They need to hire you for sales then.
Huh?
They need to hire you for sales.
You're the owner of the property, right?
I'm the owner of the
And you're
property.
selling it to this company that's going to do this?
I am.
Okay.
I am. And I've had it for sale for quite some time, and the problem has been that if we found an owner that wanted to buy the building, the current conditional uses for the building was not allowed. And some of the uses that are used in the building that you can use the building for is a fish camp. Well, there's no water right there. A marina, there's no water right there. And then, of course, medical office building. And there was on that long list, there was 46 items, and there was only a handful of them that could actually use a building that size.
I have a question for you. Do you know the elevation of that building?
What do you mean?
The elevation above sea level. Do you
No,
know?
I do not.
Do we know the elevation, Scott?
Survey.
Doesn't require flood insurance.
Well, that's an important issue, the elevation.
Doesn't require
I mean,
flood insurance.
Right, it doesn't require flood insurance. It's not in a flood
I
zone.
understand that, but it's like somebody wanted to come in here and put something nice, and the elevation is not that high. And flood insurance would be outrageous.
No, it's not in a flood zone. We're not in a flood zone.
Then it must be above what feet?
It just depends on the area, those VFDs.
It's not in the flood zone, it's just got to be of a certain elevation.
I can look it up on my phone.
Like 12 feet or...
Yeah, no, that's not it above that. I mean, you're looking at coastal areas there.
It's only required to be 1 foot above street grade if it's new construction. So
That's not it.
What I'm saying is, you're talking about she can't sell the building for this and that. Well, I wouldn't want to go in there and put even warehouses where people come in and store their stuff in like an air-conditioned storage facility. And it comes a hurricane and everybody's got to come move their stuff out or it gets ruined. Well, we're talking about pot plants getting wet, you know, that's a big difference there.
I mean, it didn't flood in Katrina.
No, it did not flood in Katrina, and it's not in a flood
Yeah, it's in
zone.
an X zone, so there's no risk there. It's
And it must be above
0.2%.
16 feet.
Okay, I do have.
Hold on, yeah, let's, okay, are you done with that?
Oh, I thought you said you had a question.
Yeah, we're gonna let them,
People keep asking.
well, we have to get citizens' comments before that.
Go ahead and get citizens.
Okay. do you
I have a problem. We're doing presentations, okay, and we're going to get citizen comments, and unless we have a motion on the floor, none of this is going to get recorded.
We're gonna get a motion after, like we normally do
but
on public
What
comments.
we've done up to now is never going to be recorded, correct? Because there's no motion on the floor?
Well, I mean,
It's in
typically
the
that
minutes.
discussion doesn't make the minutes.
Huh?
Typically that discussion even after the motion doesn't make the minutes.
They don't put citizen comments in the minutes.
I know. And that's wrong. Everything that's said in this room right now should be recorded and in the minutes of each meeting.
But they're being recorded and preserved by your Facebook Live, Councilman.
But if you go back and look at last week's meeting, you can't figure out what was said for what.
It's also being recorded with a...
It was poor reception.
Yeah, and they also record it and you can get the audio of the meeting.
I'm telling you, it ought to be in the minutes.
Well,
It's not.
it's never been in the minutes since I've been elected in council. And,
That's why we made a motion before we started anything when I was on there.
do we have any more public comments?
I didn't know if you had a question for me.
We're going to ask questions after we hear public comments. We follow our adopted by ordinance agenda.
Thank you.
Ms. Malone, if you want to come to the front, state your name, address.
I'm Ellen Malone, 1313 Hickory Hill Drive, Gaucher. I think it's, first of all, like I said, I have no problem with the cannabis cultivating facility. I believe in cannabis, medical marijuana. As a matter of fact, I do a facility, I considered it. In other words, a facility. However, and I'm glad that you're able to sell your building with this. However, first of all, I think the public should be involved in this decision. This neighborhood where she's planning on putting it, where they're planning on putting it, they need to consider it. And why don't you do it in Ocean Springs? You said you guys are from Ocean Springs. Why do you bring it down to a black neighborhood and put it there? I don't understand that. You talked about the pay, the money that you're going to pay. $30,000 comes to $577 a week. That ain't a lot of money. And most of your people are going to be paid that much. You're probably going to have 2 or 3 people who make $80,000 a year. And that's $101,538 a week. That ain't that much either, but it's good. What else? Basically, that's it. I don't think it's a good idea. I hope you don't vote for it. I hope you won't vote for it until the citizens say they want it in their neighborhood. That's fine. But if not, I think they need to maybe take it back to Ocean Springs or take it somewhere. You said it's industrial and agricultural. Find an industrial and agricultural place to put it in. But not try to get a variance here. You said a lot of things, ma'am, about the facility and how it's going to be and everything. I think that's irrelevant. The relevance part is that you want to put that facility here and not, we all know that it's okay, that what the state has voted on and allowing us to do is a good thing for people. It's a good thing for Mississippi. It's a good thing for people who are ill. But it doesn't have to, you require a variance here also. So you talk about all these other places you couldn't sell your building because they required a variance. It's the same thing here. So I hope we don't get it twisted. Gaucher is not going to make a lot of money off this. And you are going to require a lot of security, and everybody's going to know where it is and what it is. So don't get that twisted either.
Thank you, Ms. Malone.
Thank you.
Any other citizen comments? No more citizen comments. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the special exception that would allow a cannabis cultivation facility in an existing building in a C2 community commercial zoning, GPC case number 22-23-SE. Can I add stipulations to a special exception, though?
Yes, sir.
I would like to add a stipulation that it is mandatory for them to improve upon the exterior facade per their presentation. And I would like to add that as a stipulation. It's going to make that unsightly. And again, the security and everything in there.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman College. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Anderson. Any discussion starting with Councilman Elvin?
You said there'll be employees on site. Do you know how many employees?
The employees are going to be, as I said, 20 to 30 to be hired. We're not going to run split shifts, so that's going to be the typical shift, sir.
20 to 30?
Yes, sir.
And how many shifts do you have?
Just one. We basically 8 to 5 every day. Normal business hours.
Scott, has anybody discussed this with the neighbors that are in the R1 area on the Lottville Road? I mean, it's directly across from, I know the lots that live down on the south side of the tracks, and how that's going to impact them.
The ordinance requires for a special exception adjoining properties be notified, so letters went out to adjoining properties.
And there was no response from them?
No, sir.
The security that you have on site, is it just cameras and alarms, or because I'm very familiar with the types of crimes that happen in that area, and I've seen some pretty ingenious burglaries of facilities in our city, and I don't think just cameras and alarms are going to do it.
The state requirements, are to use some pretty significant monitoring. Like I said, it's 24/7 type monitoring that with the cameras that are going to be over the parking lot. It will be over all points of ingress and egress. It will be along exterior walls and interior. It will be doors. Doors will all be lockable. They'll be upgraded to commercial grade. So it's going to be a pretty stout building, and it's going to be very well lit, and it will be surveillance. Of course, there's alarm systems associated with that as well. So you'll be tripped whenever anything happens, whether it's activity inside or outside. If it comes a issue that 24-hour security is needed on site, then by all means, the applicants will be more than happy to do that. But from what I've read and from what I've seen and from what I've heard from the individuals who have done this in other counties and other states, that the grow houses typically do not need 24/7 monitoring by security guards.
And Donovan, can you explain the state requirements that they have to be able to access and view the cameras also?
Right. The cameras are going to go. They'll be able to be accessed by law enforcement, but they'll also be accessed and controlled by the actual owners. So it should be more than our guys looking at it and saying there's a call. It's stuff like be equipped with failure notification system to notify the cannabis cultivation facility and law enforcement of any failure of the alarm system. So if something trips and the alarm system goes down, it automatically recognizes and lets the law enforcement and the owners know this. They have to operate with the backup system whenever there's a power surge, a hurricane that we talked about earlier. Anytime the systems go down or the power goes down, the backup generator will pop on and we'll be able to monitor the facility. This is a cannabis warehouse, a cannabis grow facility. So the owners are going to want to make sure their stuff is safe, but it's also the state's going to make certain that everything in the facility is safe as well.
This is just a huge paradigm shift for me and a huge departure for what I'm used to throughout my career in law enforcement. So the picture that and what you've described, it sounds great, and I appreciate the idea of improving that location. I have a hard time getting behind this to support it because it's just not. It's huge departure from what I'm used to and what the laws I used to enforce. And I know what comes along with these types of plants. And I know it's medical, and I know that it's legal, but it's just hard for me to get behind it because I don't know if this is the right fit and the right location for this type of facility.
It's going to be a learning curve for a bunch of us residents here in Mississippi.
Spent a lot of time on these same streets in that same location, building cases that were involved in this type of plant. And so I kind of feel like it'd be, a hypocrisy on my career and the other law enforcement officers that have been enforcing this for many years. So I just have a hard time standing behind it. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Councilman Eldon. Councilman Anderson?
Yes, I did have a question of smell coming from the building, and you addressed that with carbon filtration for the exhaust system. So you're pretty sure there's not going to be any of the strong cannabis smell coming from the facility?
Right. The two things that are going to limit the smell from this facility, of course, is overall size, as stated previously. A lot of the smells that you're associated with out west, some of those places actually have grow fields that are out in the pasture land, and they grow them that way. And those are actually, they have no filtration on those obviously. Right. This system will be.
But people don't live around it or work around it.
Yeah, those who do, they have indicated that there's a smell associated with that. However, this is going to be an enclosed facility, And with the added precaution of the filtration system, the carbon filter, it will, the smell will be minimal, if at all. I don't think it will be, my guys have said it will be zero, and that's a strong word, but I do think it will be extremely minimal. Yes, sir.
Okay. Also, do we know if anyone within the city's employment is connected with this facility in any way, and ownership or working, there's no city, nobody within the city that's connected with the facility?
It's primarily going to be Phil, Nico, and Jordan Nico, and then they have some partners that are in Gulfport, but it's
investment partners or anything like that. Okay.
Correct. It's nobody employed with the city of Gaucher.
Okay. Is accessed by the public? It's not somebody could just walk up there and open a door and go in. It's going to have a card or some kind of a code you got to get in, employees?
Yes, most definitely.
It'll be locked 24/7.
I'll never be able to set foot in there. I mean, even though I'm related to the project, I mean, it's unless you're employed, unless you go through the background checks and you have a right to be there, you have no right to be there.
Okay. That's all I have.
Councilman College.
The existing utilities that are provided to that building, is it sufficient as far as like the water for the misting systems and all that stuff, or are you looking to have to potentially upgrade?
I know there will be some upgrades on the power sources that go in there. Water we believe is adequate. We have pretty much a permanent trunk line there. And that's probably all water is really our primary resource.
Yes. The other thing is appreciate looking into the area of this city. I understand that building itself is kind of a being built as a roller rink for years and years. It has not had the usage, and nobody really has the usage for that size building without the uses of like doing a nursery or something like that. So, I mean, this is kind of thinking outside the box, using an existing building that's, structurally sound. You're going to improve the exterior facade already. We already know, I've sat in a few seminars with the MML conference recently with regards to what medical marijuana, medical cannabis, and what's entailed with the bagging and tagging, the security requirements, how it's being tracked, the government facilities that are associated with it. And it seems like my understanding is Mississippi took the different regulations from like Washington, Colorado, Oklahoma, and trying to mesh it all in together to find the best of all those items in there.
That's my assessment as well. Luckily, we aren't the first ones to jump out there and try this. I mean, it's been done and done and done. I believe there's approximately 32 states now that have some form of, maybe it's 37. But it's increasing every day, or at least every year. We took what was working in other states and have implemented it here in Mississippi.
And my understanding is, per this state law in there is no actual outdoor growing allowed, correct? It's got to be all strictly indoors. Okay.
And very secure indoors.
Yep.
In fact, there can be really no exterior evidence, any accessories or materials or anything on the outside of the building. It's all going to be inside.
And then one last question. Are the owners, I understand then thing you're looking for anywhere from 3 to 5 dispensary license or dispensary locations. Will one of those potentially be inside Gautier city limits?
Do you want to be inside of Gautier city limits?
Well, we'll get sales tax off it then.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely open to that. I mean, we're looking for 3 additional sites.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Jordan actually talked about a potential site in Gaucher if we can find a property that's available. The siting of it is not always easy when you begin to put separation from schools.
Right, yeah, I understand what the linear footage.
Other facilities as well. So, but yeah, we're definitely going to look into it and Mr. College.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilman College. Councilman Goliath.
A couple of questions. You get approved here, then you have to go to the state for additional approval. Okay? Have y'all got any idea how long that takes?
I know that we submitted for a dispensary license, and they're supposed to look at it within 30 days. So, and they're pretty true to that. Now, if there's something that comes up being inadequate and requires additional information, then that 30 days may start again. But theoretically, once we get the approval, we've already got some preliminary designs laid out for the way the structure will be interior. It's a lot, as Renee said, it's going to be a lot of shelving and a lot of rack systems. There will be some partitions placed in the building, and of course, there's going to be a significant upgrade in mechanical lights and heating lamps and such as that. So there's going to be a but I would assume that we can get it.
Is this required by the state? What you just talking about?
No, that's not required by the state. That's required just to.
But my question is if you get approved here, then you have to go to the state for additional approval.
Correct. And with that, we will submit security plans. We will show them the locking systems. Everything that we have will be submitted to them along with the layout. We'll show them the way the exterior is going to be reviewed. One of their primary concerns is the security of the structure, and that's what we're going to focus on.
Okay. Again, you get approved here. What's your timeline for start growing? 6 months, 3 months?
Yeah, I would say that I would say 6 months would be optimistic because of all the exterior upgrades, Mr. Thomas. We'll do the exterior upgrades, and we're going to do a lot of improvements to the building. I don't think they're even taking applications for the cultivation facilities at this time. I think those actually open up in is it in October? In August, okay.
Yeah, the dispensaries actually opened up in July 5th, right. But the cultivation, which is kind of putting the cart before the horse, you think they do the cultivation first.
You confused. Cultivation facilities, you can't submit anything till just the state?
Yeah, we can't submit till
October?
August, I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Now, everybody keeps talking about there's a 5% increase sales tax over the normal 7% for, is this dispensaries or?
Yeah.
What do you guys, explain to me, you're going to grow all this stuff in there and then you're going to send it to some dispensary or multiple dispensaries here in the state?
Yes, sir.
Are you going to sell it to them or are you going to give it to them?
It will be wholesale to them, just as a pharmaceutical. It will, even if it's...
Okay, so you're doing a wholesale sale out of the state, the city of Gaucher. So will we be getting sales tax off of that?
You will not be getting sales tax. You will be getting potentially a wholesale tax, inventory taxes. Those are assessed, I think it is. Josh, you looked at this a little bit.
Personal property taxes.
Personal property taxes on inventory.
Just personal property taxes on the inventory.
Yeah, just like Ingles pays on their
inventory.
They worth over $1,000 in their coffee pots and whatever, and their inventory, yeah.
So we can get...
Similar thing.
Earlier you said something about improvements of the building by $1 million, and then that would be $20,000 annually to the county and the city, basically, for property taxes?
Yes, absolutely.
Now, this inventory is going to be additional to that?
Right. It's a different personal property.
I'll let him answer. I'm not asking you guys.
But yeah, the inventory tax is what I understand will be charged against us.
Okay, but you don't have any clue what that amount will be?
I do not know. I know it's, I think it's 15% of the assessed value of the inventory.
Yeah, but my question is what's going to be your annual inventory?
And
they come in and inspect that.
I'm not asking you.
I'm
not asking you. I'm asking him.
Hey, let's let Gordon ask his questions and nobody respond except Mr. Scruggs.
Yeah, unless they can.
No.
Yeah.
You don't have a clue what your annual inventory is going to be. So, but we will get an amount of money off of that, correct? All right. And you said earlier that you're gonna 5 to 7 dispensaries along the Gulf Coast?
Yeah, we'll have 5 is what we're entitled to have. Or
The same company?
Yes.
And you're looking for locations for those 5?
We've got 2 locations and we're
You've got 2 approved so far?
We've got 2 that are in the works, yes, sir. And we're looking at 3 more.
Okay, now you mentioned the car wash that was next door. Y'all trying to get an option to buy that property too?
We have reached out to the property owner, and we do, if this goes through tonight, I anticipate us trying to accelerate that.
If I may, I don't think a dispensary can go next door to a cultivation.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I didn't ask that.
Okay.
Once again, let's let Gordon ask all his questions to Mr. Scruggs and then Mr. Scruggs answer.
Now, I have a concern just like Councilman 4 or 5, Mr. Hogan, camera security. I think y'all need to have personnel on site for security also. And I don't know how you're going to work that, but it just seems to me that somebody comes in and cuts all the lines to the cameras, and all of a sudden, you got an alarm, and if all of our policemen are involved in a wreck on 57, the place could be robbed blind.
As I said, that is something that we would definitely can look at. I mean, if it is, we find it to be necessary, of course, the guys want to do themselves. You don't require Walmart or other places to have security guards, but they find it advantageous to have that. If we think it's advantageous to have security guards, we will definitely do that on our own. We're not going to allow the plans, to be stolen.
Okay, I'm through.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Dwight. Councilman Jackson?
Yes. So I want to first I want to answer Dante when he asked. I didn't want to break Robert's Rules of Order, so I did communicate with the people across, and that what affected my decision. So there were people that were close to this property, and I want you to, if you did communicate with them, if you got the same answer I got. There were people that I spoke with, and they were not in agreement. And they live right across the track from you. And there's other people throughout the community. I make phone calls throughout the day. I talk to numerous of people because I'm in the community. I got their phone numbers. I talked to quite a few of them. And I'm not against cannabis at all. A funny story. When I was young, I was very. Be careful. I already got locked up for it. Okay. I did my problem. I served my problem out of it. So, but I appreciate that because it did change my life, and that brought me onto a positive aspect in my life, and that's where I'm at now. So, but I did talk to the citizens, and that was my primary concern, that they, this is their livelihood next to this property, and that weighed in on me because the things that they said, that they were scared. And I was like, that really weighed in on my decision because they said they were scared. And they're worried that their safety is being, they're not secured. We can call the police and sometimes, but it's time frame for the police to get there. They're working. They all over the city. They're working. So anything can go on. I mean, if they just rob the place, gunshots go off, bullets don't have a name on it. This is what the people looking at. I'm just telling you what they're concerned because I'm talking to them. And they looking at that a stray bullet. This is an actual conversation that I had with somebody. And they're looking at a stray bullet coming in their direction. And, you know, a lot of guns out there now, you know, because we're a city that have a lot of good, well, not a city, but a state that have a lot of weapons. And so those are the things that draw my concern, is that if a citizen right next door to it or in that vicinity, and they're concerned of their livelihood, and they're not really for it, and I don't know how I should say this, that, you know, if I voted in and vote for it, now I just violate his privacy in his property, and that's a problem. You know, that's where my problem comes in. So we get a lot of people that complain about their neighbor, you know, if their neighbor is, you know, the yard is not cut, et cetera, et cetera. Now, when you put a piece of property and you say, everybody don't agree with marijuana, you know, just point blank. You put this type of atmosphere amongst them, and they don't know what your facility is capable of. They don't know the security of it. They're worried about the security of it. I'm just telling you what it is. I'm not worried about it, you know, because I'm not against cannabis. But when they address me and they are worried about it, then it draws my concern. As a councilman, as the leadership of the community, I have to make a valid decision. That is not a decision based on me, but a decision that is based on the community. So my question, I guess, is did you reach out to these community people? Because that what drew the concern of Ward 5, which drew the concern of mine. Thank God I did go out and communicate with these people. Did you go out and communicate with the people, and what answer did you get?
No, sir. I mean, I spoke to a couple of pastors and city senators associated with their churches, but we did not go out and bless the community or call individuals within the community to get their business on it. We submitted an application and went to the planning department. You know, I will say, and as Lene mentioned earlier tonight, there's a pretty hefty application fee and a pretty hefty annual fee that goes along with this. And if the state sees that on an annual basis or even on any basis, that there is gunfire or robberies or any kind of activity at this site that is a nuisance, they have the ability not to issue additional licenses or renew those licenses. In fact, there's a whole list of things in which, you know, if you have if you label the plant wrong, if you have a security system that blinks and does not remain effective, if you don't maintain your records, you know, if you have on-site use of cannabis. I mean, there's a number of things in here that with the first or second offense, they give you a pretty hefty fine, and after that, they can revoke your license. So, you know, this is not just trusting us to do what's right. Mm-hmm. This is knowing that if we don't do what's right, the facility will be shut down.
Well, that was one of my top concerns because, you know, like I said, you know, I'm for it, but, you know, I can't be against the citizens. That's one thing I can't do, you know. And that was another thing. Hold on, it was another thing. Now you do have a lot of support. I don't want you to think that, you know, that this is a business that people are just not for it. Even the people that were against it, they were for it as a business. They were not for it for its location. So I think that what lost them, the ones that was not for it, was the location. And one is being close to community, I mean, just step across the railroad track, that's the neighborhood. It's in their backyard, you know, so, and that was their top concern. And so I think that is the primary problem with this, is that it is the location. If it was, and I think that as the city, we need to come up with some locations that will be in agreements with the public, so the public won't feel unsecured, so that the people in the community won't feel like it's invading their home and their area and their space, or feel uncomfortable. Because I'm not against you, you know, at all. I'm not against you at all. I actually, you know, I support your concept, but the location, it definitely has a dilemma because of some people of the community that, and it's not just one or nothing like that. It's some that disagree. It's more that agree, but it's some that disagree, and they have a valid point. And, you know, that was just one of my major dilemmas. And I wish you would have reached out to them first, you know, like, hey, you know, and you did your due diligence with, you know, with your distancing from the school. You did. I'm real familiar with it. I went to some of the programs that spoke on how to develop these business, you know, the cannabis business. I went to a lot of the programs. I paid attention to it. We had it at MML. That was one of the classes that I took. And like I said, I did this homework. I've actually been at one of the pop-up functions where they went over what these business pertain, how to develop one of these businesses, etc. Went through the whole process. So I'm not against you, but I'm not against the community either, at all. You know, so it's a lot of things that I do in my own personal life that, you know, if it offends the community, I can't do it in my neighborhood. Like I'm a DJ. I listen to music. I might listen to it too loud, so I can't offend my neighbors. And I had them knock on my door and tell me to turn it down. You know, so I'm just saying, you know, I want to make sure that we be good neighbors to the citizens, and if they object to it, then I'm going to have to object to it. You know, I got to go with the citizens. And I believe that's all I got.
Thank you, Councilman Jackson. Councilman George.
I'm going to be brief here. I just have some direct questions. I mean, one main concern is revenue for the city. You know, I'm up here to make sure that we make the decisions that increase and improve the city and increase revenue for the city. We talk about $20,000 for ad valorem taxes. That's more than what we get now, but we only get a percentage of that. To me, that's not that much money. We could get a lot more with sales tax, something being in that facility. Another concern is proximity to school and daycares. We have them in that area. Those schools preach drug-free week every year, and marijuana is a topic. I'm not sure that I'm fully comfortable with having a facility right up the street from where they're preaching to stay away from these drugs. The climate's changing, laws are changing, but it is what it is in school and its location. Of course, I back up the police in their daily jobs, and that's always a concern, is there going to be more burden on the police, their responsibility in response to this, and how to handle certain things. I don't want to put the police on the hot spot right now, but what is your opinion on this? Because we haven't heard from you.
Now you putting them in political.
I just want to hear an opinion because it's something they're going to have to deal with.
Let's go ahead and let Chief Dever answer, and then let's move on.
And we're in uncharted territory, so I really don't know what to expect. My time working in Arkansas, what I've seen other states have legalized marijuana for medical purposes or anything, is that the suppliers can't sell enough legally, and a lot of it is on the black market, and I put away people in jail for that.
I guess my concern was more of patrolling and secure around the facility. versus it getting on the streets. I mean, do you think that this is going to be something that's a heavy burden on you guys?
Kind of hard to say.
Yeah.
So
it's just kind of like a sink or swim type of thing.
We'll address it if we need.
Okay. Security for the facility. I know that in the planning commission meeting, it was mentioned that there would be 24-hour personnel security. Now I'm hearing just cameras. So what changed?
Right. Basically, I was misinformed. We were not going to do 24-hour security at the facility. Like I said earlier tonight, if it is deemed necessary, if we have interaction with PD and they see that it's a problem and that would be preferred, then we can certainly go that direction. But I mean, what is the model, or at least the experience of the individuals that work from out of state, is that the growth facilities really are not the primary targets and do not warrant it. Some of your processors that are actually putting out the product, and some of the dispensaries do. But no, I had been a part of a conversation, and I guess they were discussing dispensaries and said there'd be 24/7 there, and that's why I misspoke at the planning commission meeting. I apologize for that.
Okay. So I appreciate the effort and plan to better the facade of the facility. It needs that for sure. But as a general resident looking in from the street, is this going to say exactly what it is with a picture of a flower, or is this going to just be a building with security and what's going on there is going on there?
You know, there may be a small sign that says, Gautier Agricultural Company, but as far as advertising, it's not going to be anything similar to the CBD facilities that have better flags and everything else kind of advertising. There's absolutely zero reason for us to entice anybody to that site for anything other than somebody to pull in a van that is picking up the product and taking it to the facility. There's absolutely zero reason for anybody to show up, knock on the door and say, hey, can I come in? We don't want that, and we're not going to encourage any kind of signage that would prompt that kind of intrusion.
So you picked Gaucher. We always like when people pick Gaucher for any reason. But what was your response from other cities? Did you try this in other cities? Is there a reason that you picked Gaucher over them?
One of the biggest issues that are out there right now is that you can't build anything, especially a metal building, because of the lack of supply. So an existing building of this size was very attractive. A lot of these buildings in Ocean Springs, I know we had an option to buy a building over there. We drug our feet and somebody else bought it for the same reason. So Ocean Springs has allowed it. I know that Pascagoula has allowed it. We only need one grow facility, so we're not really trying to do multiple locations, but I do know that there's a site on Telephone Road in Pascagoula being considered. I know there's a site on Highway 90, Ocean Springs being considered. So Jackson County itself, municipalities are addressing. And Ms. Coates said that she's got a few applications for the facilities out in the unincorporated areas. So this is not the only place that's going there. I guess everybody's getting their chance at it. What we had here was a building that was very underutilized and really became a very good fit.
Yeah. Okay. And I would just like to point out, we're talking about this being a special exception and the neighbors and bothering the neighbors and et cetera. But I do want to point out that we do have code or zones in this city that do allow this. All 57 agricultural district, they could build the same facility right next door to a house and it'd be approved and allowed by the city without any kind of special exception. So if we're looking at it being next to a house on Ladner Road, to me personally, I don't see that as a serious issue because it is allowed elsewhere in the city. So if we're counting to protect residents' integrity of the neighborhood, it is allowed in some areas. It's just not allowed here. These zones were put in place before this was ever thought of. That's just my opinion on that. I feel like I had another question, but it has escaped me. Yeah, I'll just let it leave. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Councilman George. Donovan, thank you all for coming this evening to present your application to the board, and we appreciate you all, the Nicates, your family, and for looking at investing in our community. We know y'all have a lot of investments along coastal Mississippi that are nice investments. So we appreciate not only you looking at our city for this development, but hope you will continue to look and invest in some of your other business types in our city. To the Andersons, you know, I grew up going to the skating rink. It looks the same it looked from the day I went there on the exterior of the building. Here we are trying to encourage development and beautification and all this, and I hear from residents they want stuff cleaned up. You know, there's been no economic development interest that I've been made aware of for that building. Has it Mr. Ankerson, Ms. Yancey, and Ms. Anderson back there? Have you had any other economic development interest on your building? Right. So the deal with that building is it's been, I hate to say this, but it looks sort of blighted because she's not been able to sell it to get a tenant in there to do the upgrades, as you heard her situation. The adjoining property also looks, you know, overgrown. All that stuff encourages crime. So when you have beautification, that deters crime. As far as crime, I understand. I get calls from citizens and tagged on social media all the time about crime in both the lower and the northern part of the city. You know, on Ladner Road, I don't know if Chief Elbin was the chief at that time, but right across from a residential home, right above a residential home, we had a drug raid at a gas station. Had to be shut down by the DA's office. So there's other things that happen at other types of businesses that are allowed in that community. Just the other night, we got a call of an incident down at one of the gas stations down there. So it's happening at other types of businesses, not just this, that is required by the state to have security measures in place. We took, as you heard from several of the council members, myself, we took classes on cannabis at the municipal conference. It is a hot topic. And they gave us their updates. Of course, everybody's opinion, it's new territory for the whole state. But they did say the state is going to regulate it and have such strict guidelines, if you don't follow them, you will be put out of business. They are not going to renew. And just the application fee, not knowing if you're going to be approved, is very hefty. If I recall, it was 35 plus 15. Is that correct, Mr. Nick?
30 plus 50.
Okay, 30 plus 50. So $80,000, and you might not even be approved. And as far as the improvements, that adds to the ad valorem, which we do. But as Ms. Yancey said, the products inside the business, just like our gift shops in the store, all that, I don't know if citizens are aware, you pay taxes. They send you a separate tax notice on your office furniture, etc., that you pay taxes on all that over a certain amount from the county tax assessor, Mr. Elmore. So there is benefits that do bring in some revenue, even though you're not generating sales tax. Also, they will have to pay excess tax, but that does not go to the municipalities, we learned at the conference. It does go to the state coffers, and the state coffers will decide how to farm that money out. So hopefully they would be generous with the cities who have those type of facilities. In addition, the voters voted on a referendum. They wanted this type of stuff in the state of Mississippi, and I hear the concerns, and I have the same concerns about public safety. And I'm a big public safety proponent, but I also know we have other issues and other crimes and other types of businesses that our public safety is responding to currently. So it's just a different type of business with the same type of potential crime, and we don't know if Belk or anybody else would have that type of crime. Any day it could happen. So we pray it don't, but it could happen anywhere. So once again, thank you for coming to present your case. With that being said, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? All opposed? Councilman Anderson, were you for it?
I abstain.
Were you for it or opposed? For it. Okay, Councilman Elvin opposed and Councilman Jackson abstained. Motion carries. That brings us to our business agenda number 3. Consider request for a 6-foot variance to side yard setback requirements for an accessory building in an R1 low-density single-family residential zoning district located at 7600 Bluff Point Road, Gaucher, Mississippi, GPC number 22-25-VAR by Mr. Ankerson.
Do you want to take, can we take?
Do you need?
Let's go through this for a minute.
Okay.
We're going to have to recess, take a break after this presentation so the citizens know.
The planning department has received this request from Janae Rogers Willis for a 6-foot variance to side yard setback requirements for an accessory structure in R1 low-density single-family zoning district at 7600 Bluff Point Road. The application fee of $175 was paid on May 31st, 2022. All public notice requirements have been met. Just a little background. So the applicant has brought in a structure. Didn't know she needed a permit. Situation we've been here before. It was placed too close to the side property line, so she's requesting a 6-foot in order for the shed to stay there. I've included the UDO definition of hardship for your review. And the variance application shall demonstrate that special conditions and circumstances exist which are peculiar to this particular site, parcel, structure, building involved, which are not applicable to other sites, lots, parcel, structures, or buildings. That little interpretation of the provisions of this ordinance will deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same district from the provisions of this ordinance. That special conditions and circumstances do not result from the actions of the applicant, and that granting the variance request will not confer upon the applicant any special privilege that is denied by this ordinance to other similar sites, lots, parcels, structures, or buildings in the same district. The Planning Commission recommends the City Council approve the variances requested. And the City Council may approve the variance request as presented, approve the variance request with changes, or deny the variance request. Again, I've included the excerpt from the GPC meeting and the complete packet and application. And I'm here to answer any questions. The applicant is here as well to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Ankerson. Do we have any public comments? State your name and address.
I'm the applicant, Janae Rogers Willis, 7600 Bluff Point Road. That is the residence I have in Mississippi. My permanent residence is in Sims, Alabama. This is a vacation home on the Pascagoula River. I've called myself looking at the code to see if there was any restrictions about bringing the shed in. I talked to the seller in Lucedale before I bought the shed. It's a very nice shed. It's red and it's painted. It looks like a barn. And there really was no other place to put it except where we put it, which was between the house and a fence. And so before I located it there, I went next door to the lady and asked her, did she have any problem with the shed being there? And I'm the next item on the agenda after this because I have 2 things to see y'all about. And she was happy with the shed because, as I told the Planning Commission, my husband likes to sit on the back porch and drink coffee in the morning. She likes to sit on her back porch and drink coffee, and she doesn't like to look over there and look at him while he's he's a hard-headed Marine, and he's going to stay out there and drink his coffee, so she likes the shed a lot. So
is that the back porch or the front porch?
The back porch, facing the water. That's the back porch facing the water. So this was the original house that was built on the bluff over there. It was built in the 60s, and everything around it is gigantic and huge, and this is a little bitty 1,362 square foot, 1,360 square foot house. And so I really needed the shed for, tools and rakes and a grill and boat paraphernalia and all that other kind of stuff. So I did go to my neighbors and ask them, did they have an issue with it? Everybody signed an affidavit. It was in the application before the Planning Commission because I'm also here on a fence variance, the next thing on your list. And so, I'm trying to be a good neighbor. I didn't try to flout the laws and come in here and do something I wasn't supposed to. But it really is the only location for the shed to be. So I'm asking for a variance.
Thank you so much. Do we have any other public comments on this agenda item? None. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the request for a 6-foot variance to a side yard setback requirements for accessory structure in R1 low-density single-family residential zoning district located at 7600 Bluff Point Road, Gautier, Mississippi, GPC number 22-25-VAR.
We have a motion by Councilman College. We have a second by Councilman George. Any discussion? Starting with Councilman Elvin.
No discussion.
Councilman Anderson.
No comment.
Councilman College.
Thank you for the affidavits.
Councilman Gilat.
No comment.
Councilman Jackson.
No comment.
Councilman George.
Thank you for being organized and on top of it. If you need a job at the city, making sure everyone else does this, we'll talk.
Well, I apologize for having to be here at all. Like I said, it was never my intent to come over here and violate any of the ordinances. And in fact, the guys in the planning department are already sick of talking to me for other things that I'm doing because I've been over here twice in the last 4 business days. But I didn't mean to violate it. That wasn't my intention, but I hope I can keep my shed.
Thank you. We appreciate you coming and following through with the Planning Commission, the Planning Department, and also thank you for investing in Gaucher for your secondary home here. So we're blessed to have you and your investment. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries. That brings us...
Let's go ahead and get this next one knocked out.
You want to go now?
Do you want to get this break? Do you want to get a break? Because it's the same applicant. I was going to say we can get her through her real quick.
Yeah, we can get through it quick.
She leaves. Okay, that brings us to business agenda item number 4. Consider a request for a 7-inch variance to height requirements for a fence in a front yard in a R1 low-density single-family residential zoning district located at 7600 Bluff Point Road, Gaucher, Mississippi, GPC number 22-26-VAR by Planning Director Scott Ankerson.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Council, this is the same applicant, same property. In situation, she had made some fence repair and added some fencing. The ordinance requires once your fence crosses the front plane building line of your home that the fence height requirement steps down to 4 foot maximum. She has some areas due to the topography and uneven ground that this fence height exceeds that by 6 inches. So the applicant is requesting a 7-inch variance to that fence height requirement by the ordinance to be compliant. So with that being said, the Planning Commission recommends the City Council approve this variance due to the affidavits presented that no one has objection. The City Council may approve the variance request as presented, approve the variance request with changes, or deny the variance request.
Thank you, Mr. Ankerson. Do we have any public comments? State your name and address.
Janae Rogers Willis. I'm the applicant, 7600 Bluff Point Road. Again, it was the same thing. When I purchased the house, it had a really dilapidated chain link fence around it that I suspect was erected when the house was built in the 60s. And the prior owner had tore down the fence, and about 90 foot past the front of my house, they had this wood fence, and it's a very complicated wood fence. It was expensive to build, and I asked them to make it level and not have the fence be all wobbly according to the topography. So in some places, it's 4 inches over the requirement, and in some places, it's 7 inches over the requirement. But everybody loves the fence. I went to the neighbors before I built it, not knowing that this was going to be an issue, because I wanted to make sure everybody was okay with me tearing down the fence that was there. I called for a survey to make sure that my points were where they were supposed to be. And so I'm trying to be a good neighbor. I'm not trying to violate the rules, but here I am in front of you asking to let me keep my fence. It's 7 inches too high in about 3 places.
Thank you, Ms. Willis. Any other public comments? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the 7-inch variance to height requirements for a fence in the front yard R1 GPC 22-26-VIR based on Planning Commission's recommendations.
We have a motion by Councilman College, a second by Councilman Anderson. Any discussion? Starting with Councilman Elvin.
No discussion.
Councilman Anderson.
No comment.
Councilman College.
In Planning Department's recommendation or assessment, is it an impact to any sightline visualization from the road? Okay, that's all. That's it.
Councilman Gilat.
No.
Councilman Jackson.
No.
Councilman George.
Hell no.
And once again, thank you, Ms. Willis, for your investment, and your neighbors are very proud and blessed to have you as a resident. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion to recess for 5 minutes for a break?
So moved.
A motion by Councilman College, a second by Councilman George. All in favor? Motion carries.
Right hand.
Thank you, Ms. Willis.
Mayor, my neighbor Charlotte Guy.
Yeah, she told me.
She told me to make sure that I spoke to you. She and Mr. Floyd had designed it, and so they were the authors of it to begin with, so she didn't believe it. Do all this.
Yeah, you tell her it's not working.
We're moving on.
Well, we appreciate your investment here. Tell her I said hello.
They have issued cultivation licenses already in the Arts.
We don't have Councilman College.
How much longer we got this? Is it much left?
Three. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the consent.
What we do, what we waiting on?
That brings us to our, do we have a motion to go back into session?
So moved.
Motion by Councilman College. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Gillette. All in favor? Motion carries. We're back in session. Brings us to business agenda item number 5, consideration of a special exception that would allow a used RV dealership in a C3 highway commercial zoning district, GPC case number 22-27-SE. By Planning Director, Mr. Ankerson.
Mayor, the Planning Department has received this request from Family RV Sales and Service LLC Family RV Sales LLC for a special exception that would allow a used RV dealership in C3 Highway Commercial Zoning District. The application fee of $250 was paid on June 15, 2022, and all public notice requirements have been met. Some general features of the project: the entire property site is 8.75 acres. There's an existing construction company on this property. There's potable wastewater wastewater services existing at the location. The current surrounding zoning is C3 highway commercial and R1 low density single family residential. The comprehensive plan's future land use designation is high impact commercial. I've included the review criteria for special exceptions outlined in 416.4 of the UDO, along with the applicant's responses to those and staff's findings.
Whoever's on the phone, can y'all please mute your phones if you're on the call? I don't know who's on the call. If you, city staff, if you're on the call, can you mute your phone? We can hear your background noise. Thank you, Mr. Anchors.
Recommendation: the Planning Commission recommends that an ordinance interpretation and finding of fact that RV sales is a like use as automobile sales, and as such, a special exception is not required for RV sales in a C3 zoning district. Instead, the use should be allowed by right, so long as the applicant meets all of the relevant ordinance provisions. So let me explain that just a little bit. Our UDO does not list RV sales as a use anywhere in the use tables. The UDO does allow the planning director to make a determination based on like uses. I was not comfortable with that. I didn't necessarily feel like an RV sales was like any other use listed. There was maybe mention of car dealership being a like use, which I guess it could be considered a like use, but there are also many differences. So I just didn't feel comfortable, and that's why I sent it to the Planning Commission and why it's before us. The City Council may approve the special exception with changes, but deny the special exception. They're included again the excerpt from the meeting and the application complete package. If you have any questions for me, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Ankerson. Mr. Dennis?
Yes, sir. The only thing I would change about that is that we didn't have a public hearing. There was immediately a motion to state this interpretation of the UDO. So I don't think at this stage we could approve the special exception. If it requires a special exception, it'll have to be remanded back to planning so that they can consider the criteria.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ankerson. Do we have any public comments? Any public comments on this item? Does the applicants want to speak?
Yes, sir.
Okay. State your name and address.
My name is John Costello. That's my wife, Sophie Costello. And I live at 16, I just moved there again, 1636 Marianne Drive. My prior residence to that was in Westgate Parkway. And we have lived here for almost 10 years. We love the city. That's why we've been here for almost 10 years. We used to have a RV dealership in Moss Point, which was next to the Estes post office. And before COVID, when it was real bad, we had to shut down and we lost our lease. That's why we no longer was there. We sold the property. And now we've been looking for several years, as we was there too, looking for another piece of property to open up. And Gaucher was our heart. And we have looked at several properties in the city of Gaucher. And we have prayed to God to send us a piece of property. And we went to this one, and we spoke to one of the Mel brothers, talked to them, and have came here. And he was to the other meeting earlier this month, and like Scott Atkinson was saying that some people said they don't need no special, whatever you call it.
Special exception.
Special zoning, that it's just like selling used cars or used equipment. And that area is zoned for that. And we would just love to stay here in Gaucher and just to open our business. It's, I mean, it's family run. And we're not a big, large camper world or anything, or all-American camper or anything like that. We're a small mom and pop. We're not going to take that much space. We do pay taxes every month. We like to pay in the city of Gaucher instead of going to Biloxi. It is several $1,000s a month, but it's just a city that we love, that is dear in our heart. And we like to have a future here in the city. And Councilman and Mayor, thank you all for your time. And I really appreciate y'all. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Any other comments from any other citizens? No other comments. Do we have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we table this, just for the fact, reiterating what Josh said, there was no public hearing. We don't have this in our UDO to specify this. Personally, I don't feel that it's like selling used cars or used equipment. So I would like to at least look at putting it in our UDO, specified terms, and send them back to Planning Commission and revisit.
Well, would we table it, or are we remanding it back to Planning Commission? There's two different.
Remand it back, wouldn't we?
Send it back to Planning Commission.
For a public hearing.
Yeah.
So we have a motion to remand the special exception request that would allow a used RV dealership in a C3 Highway Commercial Zoning District, GPC, case number 2227 SE. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Councilman Gilat. Any discussion? Starting with Councilman Elbin.
No discussion.
Councilman Anderson.
No comment.
Councilman College.
I think that's the best thing to do. We need to nip this in the bud, because if it is determined that it's considered an as equal use to a used car lot, that opens up a precedent for anything around the city with this zoning. And we need to be very leery about what we do with this type of thing. So I think it would behoove the Planning Commission to have the public hearing, and if they feel the need to amend the UDO there afterwards, they can do that.
Okay. Councilman Gilat.
It's unfortunate that we have to do this, but we're going to have to follow our city attorney as his recommendation as to having a public hearing concerning this. Other than that, again, I apologize for y'all having to come down here and sit through the whole meeting to find this out. But it is what it is.
Councilman Jackson.
Yes. Why did the Planning Commission come up with it as similar to vehicles? How was they come to that conclusion?
I think they just, we had discussed it, and that was one of their options, was to say that this is, so let me back up. In the UDO, it authorizes Scott as the planning director to designate certain uses as light uses, similar uses. And he declined to do that, but the Planning Commission took it upon themselves to say, yes, we think that this is a light use. I actually gave them that I guess I gave them that option. And they took it and they said, well, if Scott doesn't think it's a light use, we think it's a light use. And they recommend that there wasn't a special exception required.
Okay.
So that's how they came to that conclusion.
So is there anything in that law? In other words, we don't have nothing in the law. We don't know. We don't have no description.
Not for used RV sales. Correct. There's nothing there.
Is it new or used, correct?
Or used.
New or used, yeah.
So we don't have nothing for it. That's the reason why they did it. Basically, we had nothing on there.
That's right. They just thought it was close enough fit with auto sales, and what you're telling them is, we don't agree, so please consider this as a special exception.
Okay.
You're saying we think this is different than auto sales.
Okay. Okay.
Councilman Jackson, you got anything?
No further
Councilman
questions.
George?
I just want to clarify to the applicants, this is not an approval or denial. This is pretty much, this is new territory for the council and the city, and we just want to make sure we have our ducks in a row and our terms accurate in the book for future opportunities that come along. This is not something we need to make a decision on today, willy-nilly. This is something that needs to go before Josh and Scott and make sure that it's right. So I just want you to know that that's nothing to do with you guys. It's all on our end. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman George. And I echo what Councilman George says. It has nothing to do with you all, but as we stated, the Unified Development Ordinance and other zoning does single out RVs, boats, and automobiles, and they're not identified as the same type of vehicle in that other part of the ordinance. So we need to make sure, since it's not in the commercial zoning identified as three different things, it sort of needs to coincide with the other zoning where it's defined separately, because they are defined separately in other zones.
So I need to come back on the next month's meeting, first Tuesday.
You will go back to the Planning Commission meeting, and Mr. Ankerson and his staff will reach out to you. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries.
I would like to thank you for that clarification. I didn't even think about that portion of the UDO as far as storage of boats and trailers and RVs, so that actually is a very good point.
Thank you, Councilman College. Business item agenda number 6, approval to remove a 50% penalty from 7301 River Music, Gaucher, Mississippi. Staff presentation, Mr. Scott Ankerson.
Thank you, Mayor. So this request actually came from Councilman Galata. I spoke with Attorney Josh Daniels about removing this penalty, and Mr. Daniels asked me to put it on the agenda under a business item and present this. So basically, they're just asking for y'all made a decision to put a 50% penalty on property 7301. The property owner, I guess, has spoken to Councilman Galata and asked if that could be removed. So that's what's before you tonight.
This was in addition to the cost of the abatement, correct?
The abatement cost will still be, absorbed by the owner through the lien, but they're asking to remove the penalty.
Okay. Any citizen comments? No citizen comments. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion for approval to remove the 50% penalty from 7301 River Music Drive, Gaucher, Mississippi.
We have a motion by Councilman Gilat. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman George. Any discussion? Starting with Councilman Eldon.
No discussion.
Councilman Anderson?
No discussion.
Councilman College?
No comments.
Councilman Gilat?
The property owner has agreed to pay the cost of the demolition, which that has already been done and paid correctly.
Oh, no, sir, we haven't put the lien on there.
No. Demolition has been done, right?
Yes.
And she has paid for that.
Has she reimbursed the city yet?
No.
We haven't put the lien on taxes yet, no, sir.
Okay.
So when y'all approved that work, it was approved to be done by the city and then to apply as a lien.
Okay.
So usually we have the work done, and then we have to bring it back before y'all for approval. If the work's been done, this is how much it costs, and then we'll go down to the county and we have it applied as a lien.
Okay.
That has not been done yet. The lien has not been placed.
So you're waiting on this approval?
Yes, sir, we'll put it on there tomorrow morning as soon as you guys are.
Now, I do have a question based on that, being that we actually technically hadn't placed a lien on it yet. Is there a way that this applicant or this resident could actually reimburse the city directly rather than going through the lien process?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Do we need a motion for that, or?
Yes, sir. It's already been approved. If she comes in and pays for it before a lien is assessed, then there's no reason.
Okay, very good. All right.
Well, she's agreed to do that.
Okay. Councilman Jackson?
No comment.
Councilman George?
No comment.
All in favor? Motion carries. That brings us to our approval of the FY 2020 budget amendments by our City Clerk, Ms. Teresa Montgomery.
So, how much information do you want? Do you have any questions?
No, sure.
Basically, this is what we do every July. It has to be done by July. Usually I do it a little bit earlier. This year's been a little bit crazy with the economic climate. The revenue adjustments are basically based on the economy. If you look at it, I'm lowering the anticipated revenue and franchise fees and the court fines and forfeitures. But we have received more money in sales tax. Our sales tax right now is running like over 100,000 more than it was this time last year. But we're still better than that because I didn't budget what we got last year.
It's typical Teresa Montgomery there.
Well, part of the reason the sales tax is up so high is because prices are up so high. And so it's not good for the citizens, but it's because we're not making more sales, we're just paying more. They're paying more for those sales. The main thing in revenue though is the other financing sources. That 147,000, that's coming out of cash ending balance. And the bulk of this is for the change order on Baco Park. That's the majority of what that is. That's a combo field with some going in and some coming out because the change orders totaled on Baco about over 200,000. The other things in the general fund, you see in city council, that's just to budget the tablets that we purchased. There's some increased ABC charges. I'm moving money from the economic development fund under the city manager to pay for the snow. Most of the supply increases that you see are for fuel costs. Fuel has gone up exponentially, as everybody knows. We have also done a little bit of preemptive buying, and I've budgeted for that for items that we are having trouble getting right now, such as drums of oil, diesel oil, oils for the police cars. We went ahead and I've budgeted to purchase, and it's already been purchased, is another lawnmower for Chastity, weed eaters. We've been stocking up on supplies that we will need daily to get us through to the end of the calendar year, not just the fiscal year. There's been a lot of trouble getting things here. They're having trouble getting uniforms. Josh has turnouts that have been on order since October last year. We have vehicles that we have ordered that have been canceled. We're waiting on vehicles for 9 months that they say we may get in a couple months. We're also buying some equipment for our maintenance garage in the back to help do diagnostics on the patrol cars and the fire department's vehicles and other city vehicles so that we can do those in-house. We have a really good mechanic now, really good. So we're trying to keep what we need on hand, filters, whatnot. The other things that are worth noting is under your Fund 002, the HB1 Modernization Act. That is budgeting the engineering contract for the Seacliff renovation, which was already approved in previous meetings. Under Fund 160, the Fire Protection Fund is a budget amendment just to budget the additional cost of the fire engine. That's been absorbed through funds that are already within that fund. On Shepherd's State Park, that's just a small amendment, which is due to increased insurance, additional maintenance costs, and we had to purchase a grinder pump out there. The town's common park project is a large amendment, and that is to budget the 2971 funding from the state. Fund 305 is, some of the money from 305 is being put in the Baco project, reallocating that to help with those additional costs. The Baco, Fund 307, which is the Baco improvements, is budgeting the funds that I'm pulling from the general fund and the capital improvement fund, which is for the basketball court, the mural, security lighting, and the football field expenses. 309, the town center retail development complex. I've budgeted the grant anticipation loan. That wasn't originally in the original budget. And that's the 3.5 million. We've already paid that off. So the 353, we did receive additional reimbursement from NDOT, so that's just budgeting that, and then it's transferring it out to Fund 355, which is the balance, is the water supply and treatment project back here. So, and then for Fund 400, water and sewer, is additional fuel. We had to buy a new computer. We had to put security cameras in the lobby of the utility building. And that's also budgets the additional engineering contracts for the Head Start project and for the animal shelter project. And that's it.
Thank you,
There will be
Ms.
more at the end of the year.
Thank you, Ms. Montgomery. Do we have any citizen comments? No citizen comments. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion by Councilman Gilat. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman George. Any discussion, starting with Councilman Elder?
No discussion.
Councilman Anderson?
No discussion.
Councilman College?
Based on these amendments, where are we as our anticipated ending cash balance?
I have no idea.
Are we higher, lower, indifferent?
Higher.
It'll be higher.
It'll be higher. Okay, that's what I want to know right there. Okay.
Councilman Gilat?
No.
Councilman Jackson?
No comment.
Councilman George? Thank you, Ms. Montgomery, for you and your staff's hard work. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries. That brings us to the approval of docket of claims. We've all been provided them by the city clerk, Ms. Montgomery, by website, also by email. They're on the website for the public's review. So, do we have any public comments? No public comments. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion. We approve the docket of claims provided that all entries thereon are true, correct, properly entered, and not fraudulent.
We have a motion by Councilman College. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman George. All in favor? Motion carries. That brings us to consent agenda items. All items approved in one motion unless somebody wants to pull one. Does anybody want to pull one?
Yes.
Which
I just
one?
want to put it for just for questions because better understanding.
Which number, Councilman Jackson?
9 and 10.
9 and 10 are pulled by Councilman Jackson. Any others want to be pulled? Do we have a motion to approve 1 through 8 and 11 through 12?
So moved.
We have a motion by Councilman Gilat. A second. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman George. All in favor? Motion carries. That brings us to consent agenda item number 9, authorization to execute the subdivision settlement participation form Exhibit C for the ongoing Mississippi State local government opioid litigation.
Okay, the question I had, I noticed they're going into it was saying like they're going to, one of the companies is trying to fold. Does that mean that we're not going to get the funding because they decided to, I should have looked up, so they decided to fold on us? Is that, what is the language for that?
This is you previously entered into an agreement to settle with certain opioid manufacturers and pharmacies, and this is just one of the ones that hadn't settled yet, and now they've agreed to settle with the state of Mississippi. So you're agreeing to take a settlement with that company, Endo Pharmaceuticals.
Okay.
This is something you've done before with other manufacturers.
Okay. Yes, sir. All right, and number.
Well, hold on, we got to have a
Okay,
motion
yeah,
in a second. Do we have a motion to approve authorization to execute the subdivision settlement participation form for the ongoing Mississippi State local government opioid litigation?
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Jackson. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Gilat. Any discussion? Starting with Councilman Elbin.
No discussion.
Anderson.
No.
Councilman College.
No.
Councilman Gilat.
No.
Councilman Jackson. Councilman George. We have a motion by Councilman Jackson, a second by Gilat. All in favor? Motion carries. That brings us to consent agenda item number 2, approval of the memorandum number 10, approval of the memorandum of agreement MOU between the 81st Security Squadron and the City of Gaucher Police Department.
It's basically, we're just renewing an existing agreement we've had with the St. Hill Green Landing subdivision off out of 57 for us to provide police services there.
The one north of
It's a yearly thing.
Key place up there.
Yeah, St. Hill Landing is actually a military.
Yeah, it's owned by Keeser Air Force Base.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
It's kind of like the same thing that we had the same thing with the fire department.
Right. And it has to be done yearly.
Well, I think mine was 10 years.
Oh, was it? I thought
Yeah,
it was
because this one says 9
They
years.
notified us, or me, that we need to renew it.
Okay.
So you did.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
That'll be all.
Do we have a motion to approval of the memorandum of agreement between the 81st Security Squadron and the City of Gaucher Police Department?
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Jackson. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Gilat. Any discussion? Starting with Councilman Elbin.
No discussion.
Councilman Anderson.
No discussion.
Councilman College.
No.
Councilman Gilat.
No.
Councilman Jackson.
No.
Councilman George. No. All in favor? Motion carries. That brings us to our study agenda. Discuss citizen comments. You can come to this podium and state your name and address and have 3 minutes.
I don't really know a lot to say. I don't need 3 minutes. I just want to thank Councilman Vaughn for his speedy response when we had the water main break, because we had no water until the next day, and I appreciate that. We would have called you, but we got here.
Hey, that's all right.
Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you,
Hey,
Ms.
so long as you
Malone.
contacted somebody, that's all that matters. Doesn't matter who it is on us.
And I am Ellen Malone, 1330 Nickerville Drive.
Thank you, Ms. Malone, and we're glad and thank our Public Works and Public Safety for their hard work. And glad y'all got your water back.
Yes.
Any other citizen comments? No citizen comments. That brings us to our city council comments. It's the second meeting of the month, so we'll start with Councilman Elbin.
Just like to thank Public Safety for the work that we all done. Saw on that case on Gautier, getting that person in custody. The city employees, I appreciate the work y'all do. And Clearwater for getting that pipe fixed because my water was out too. That's it.
Is that all you have, Councilman? Okay. Councilman Anderson?
No comments.
Councilman Collett?
I think there's been enough talking today. I'm not saying anything else. I'm done.
Councilman Gallant?
I'm out of it, no.
Okay. Councilman Jackson?
Yes, I want to reiterate on what Councilman Elby said about he solving the case. Appreciate it. Y'all doing a great job. And I see you working. I'm down. I'm on the grounds. They out there. They're showing their face. The police is doing the job. So I just want to thank you for that. I guess that's pretty much all I got. That's all.
Thank you, Councilman Jackson. Councilman George?
Good night.
Thank you. I just want to first, we had the farmers market this month, and I want to thank Chastity Bilbo, the director, and her employees. It was not, and the police officer who was working, it was not cool. It was very hot. And when I say hot, it took days to recover from the heat for some people. I just want to give them kudos for their dedication to their job, but also to the city of Gaucher. And we appreciate them and their hard work. And if y'all would please, the compliments that we received on the officer Hardy that was out there were just phenomenal with his interaction with the public and the staff. So thank you. Also, I would like to thank our police department, as you heard echoed, for solving the crime, our police chief and his staff, and solving that crime. I know it's hard to work those type of cases, but it's good for the citizens to know that we are working for them and we're not going to put up with that in the city of Gaucher. Kudos to everybody doing a great job on your job recruitments. It makes us proud to be able to brag on our employment status here for the citizens. As you heard from Ms. Malone about the water, I want to give kudos to our police department for their fast response and blocking off the road, telling people do not drive down a compromised road. Some drove down it and found out it compromised. So, it was an eventful night. Mr. Malone and Miss Malone came back from Oshner's and they had no water at 12:01 a.m., but we fastly got on the scene. So thank you all for reaching out to us and calling any time. And thank Public Works for working hard and diligently out there on that scene to get it repaired. Do we have any other citizen comments? Police Chief, do you have any comments that you would like to make regarding your department?
The thing is, next week we got to meet the chief and the command staff. Event stuff going on at Martin Luther Baptist Church at 6 p.m. Wednesday, July 20th.
Thank you, Chief. We appreciate that. And if you're watching, that's Wednesday the 26th at Martin Bluff Baptist Church. 27th, Martin Bluff Baptist Church. And we'll do a social media blurb about that to get it out to the residents. Okay, do we have any city manager comments? No? City clerk?
No, sir.
City attorney?
Yes, sir.
Do we have a motion to adjourn until August the 2nd, 2022 at 6:30 p.m.?
So moved.
Motion by Councilman College, a second by
Mr. Malone.
Cool. We're past. Okay. Stand up and state your name and address and hurry, Mr. Malone. Citizen comments are over.
I have a lot of interaction with kids, young people in my neighborhood, a tremendous amount. There needs to be a plan put together by the city to offer our young people some type of recreation. You don't even have a basketball. We have enough people.
Well, the recreation department and the city staff and Councilman College, people are working with the Board of Supervisors to see what we can do for that area at Baco Park. At Betty Davis.
Kids walk the street, ride bicycles, and no recreation, none.
Okay.
That's sad. Well, it's shameful.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion by Councilman, thank you, Mr. Malone. We have a motion by Councilman College, a second by Councilman Gillard. All in favor? Motion carries. We're adjourned until August the 2nd at 6:30 p.m.